So what is a polynomial? It's just an expression that takes this form. In other words, something x cubed plus something x squared plus something x plus a number is a polynomial, okay? And of course you could have x cubed but no x squared term, but essentially it's just as long as your variable, your x or your y or your a is raised to powers, we call that a polynomial, as long as it's got a whole number exponent, okay? For example, 3x squared plus x cubed plus 2x squared minus 6 is a polynomial. We say the degree is the highest power that the polynomial takes. So in this case, the degree is 5 because the highest power is 5. Quadratics obviously always have a degree of 2 because the highest power is squared. And cubics would have a degree of 3 because the highest is 3. Constants are polynomials of degree 0 because x to the power 0 equals 1. So we're going to do this little task just to make sure we understand what a degree is. And we'll do it together. So the first one says 4x squared plus 2x plus 5. Well, the degree is 2 because of the x squared. 4x4 minus x cubed blah blah blah. Well, the degree is 4 because the highest power is 4. The next one, the degree is 2 because the highest power is 2. The next one, 2x plus 1. Well, the power on x is just 1, so the degree is 1. X minus 1 to the power of 4. Well, if you expand that, the highest power would be 4, of course. So the degree is 4. 3x squared plus 2x to the 5. Well, the degree is 5. We can evaluate polynomials using substitution. So, for example, if we had 2x cubed minus 9x squared plus 2x plus 1, and we want to evaluate the function f of 5, it just means sub in 5. So I could sub 5 in directly and get an answer which is 36. But what that actually means is, if we were to divide this polynomial by x minus 5, the remainder would be 36. Well, why is that? Because if we put a number into a polynomial and we get an answer of 0, it means it's a root, okay? If you imagine back at quadratics, and I had x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals 0, and we're trying to solve that, what it really means is what value of x makes this 0, right? So if you get any other number other than 0, it means you've got a remainder. So here's an example. Given that g of x is this polynomial, we have to evaluate this and state the remainder. So let's do part A, g of 3. Just subbing it in, we get 3 cubed plus 3 squared minus 22 times 3 minus 40. 3 cubed plus 3 squared minus 22 times 3 minus 40. That's minus 70. Therefore, the remainder is minus 70. B, g of minus 5, well, that is going to be minus 5 cubed plus minus 5 squared minus 22 times minus 5, take away 40. Therefore, the remainder is minus 30. And you can do the same thing for the rest. So for question C, g of minus 2, that's minus 2 cubed plus minus 2 squared minus 22 times minus 2 minus 40. So we've got 0, and therefore the remainder is 0. So if the remainder is 0, that means we've basically found a factor. That's what we're going to go to next. So polynomials, if there's no remainder when you evaluate f of a, that means that f of a equals 0. And that means that x equal a is a root because a goes into exactly and get an answer of 0. And therefore x minus a is a factor of f of x. In the previous example, we had this, and g of minus 2 is equal to 0. This just means that x equals minus 2 is a root, and therefore x plus 2 is a factor, because x plus 2 equals 0, we give you x equals minus 2. We can use this to help factorise then this polynomial, because we now know that one of the factors is x plus 2, and then since we've got that, it'll be x plus 2 times a quadratic to get a cubic, and we'll look at how to get the rest of that so we can factorise it completely. But here's a little task to start off with to get used to the ideas of roots and factors. If we know a root, we immediately know the factor. X equals minus 2, the factor is x plus 2. X equals 5, then the factor is x minus 5. If x plus 7 is the factor, x equals minus 7. If x minus 7 is the factor, x equals just 7. If x minus 3 was our factor, then x would just equal 3. Obviously, x equal to minus 3 means we've got a factor of x plus 3. 2x minus 1, well, how do we work that out? Well, if you just make it equal to 0, you'll be able to see it. You take the 1 across and divide by 2, so it's a half. If you've got a third, then that means that the factor is 3x minus 1. And you can see that if you make that equal to 0, because that gives you 1/3. 2/3, then you've got 3x minus 2, and then 4x plus 5 would mean we would have minus 5/4.